From Myanmar to Cambodia, an empire of deception that thrived for over a decade is finally collapsing. Its mastermind, Chen Zhi, head of Cambodia's Prince Group, has been placed on the US wanted list. But behind this Southeast Asian web of scams and blood money lies something far more dangerous than organized crime. A network tied to Xi's Belt and Road campaign and to the hidden fortunes of the Xi family. Welcome back to Final War with Katherine Hu. In October 2025, the world was stunned by a historic international crackdown. The United States and the United Kingdom seized over $15 billion in Bitcoin linked to a Fujian-born businessman named Chen Zhi, froze all his offshore assets, and filed sweeping criminal charges against his Cambodian conglomerate, the Prince Group. Investigators accused Chen of building a massive cross-border crime network, operating under the cover of cryptocurrency investment and Belt and Road development. Behind the glittering facade, they found a system of forced labor, human trafficking, body part extraction, and digital fraud. A machinery of suffering that stretched across Southeast Asia. At the same time, in neighboring Myanmar, the military launched cleansing bombings against the infamous KK Park, a scam city on the Thai border long protected by local militias and Chinese capital. By late October, the entire compound was in flames, its leaders fleeing, and its records destroyed. So what connects these criminal empires to Beijing's regional ambitions? What is the link between the Prince Group, the KK Park network, and China's state security system, or even the interests of the party leader family? Tonight, we uncover the hidden machinery behind Southeast Asia's scamming empire and the shadow that built it. Let's begin in Myanmar. One of Asia's most notorious scamming hubs, the KK Park has been wiped off the map. When the news first broke, few believed it. For years, KK Park, located in Myawaddy on the Myanmar-Thailand border, was less a business park than a kingdom of crime. A heaven for fraudsters, a hell for the enslaved. In late October, the Myanmar military began aerial bombardments against the compound, using drones packed with explosives to destroy the site. The skies glowed red from the flames, and explosions could be heard miles away across the Thai border. By the 26th, ground troops had moved in. Officials announced that the infamous scam city had finally been taken. But for those trapped inside, chaos came first. More than 1,000 people, mostly Chinese nationals, fled into Thailand, dragging suitcases through mud, some on motorcycles, others swimming across the Moe River. The scenes resembled a wartime exodus, desperate, chaotic, and eerily silent. Witnesses say thousands more were captured, sold, or moved to other compounds. Only a fraction have been repatriated to China. Meanwhile, new scam zones are being built even faster than the old ones were destroyed. An insider from another park revealed that operations there have continued as usual. Their compounds still connect to Myanmar's Mytel telecom network and Thai fiber optics. Videos online show buildings still lit up at night, proof that the business of deception hasn't stopped. KK Park sits at the heart of Myawaddy, now synonymous with online fraud, money laundering, and human trafficking. Tens of thousands were lured there with promises of high-paying jobs, only to be beaten, confined, and forced to run scam scripts that stole billions from victims around the world. In early 2025, the abduction of a Chinese actor named Wang Xing, lured to Thailand for a fake film project and trafficked into KK Park, again drew global attention to this brutal industry. Official records later revealed that the KK network was built under Chinese state-linked projects, directly tied to Beijing's Belt and Road investments in Myanmar. To understand how deep this web runs, we need to go back to 2015. The year Xi's Belt and Road Initiative pushed aggressively into Myanmar. That year, Xi appointed Geng Zhiyuan, the son of former Defense Minister Geng Biao, to lead Beijing's United Front operations in Myanmar. His mission was threefold. First, to open channels with anti-government militias. Second, to buy off local mafia networks. Third, to co-opt officials inside Myanmar's authoritarian regime. It was Geng Zhiyuan who quietly helped remove Aung San Suu Kyi from power. Beijing's core objective was simple: to make sure Myanmar never became a functioning democracy. The more chaos, the safer the regime in Beijing felt. By 2017, Chinese state-affiliated media were openly celebrating new economic corridor projects as showcases for the Belt and Road. One such venture, the Myanmar Asia-Pacific Shui-Gu Valley Economic Zone, carried a staggering $15 billion investment. It was marketed as a model of smart city development, jointly promoted by Chinese officials and Aung San Suu Kyi's administration. Major Chinese state-owned enterprises, China Metallurgical Group, Northern Heavy Industries, and others joined in the construction. In 2018, China's vice chair of the National Development and Reform Commission, Ning Jizhe, visited Myanmar to advance these corridor projects. Soon after, Chinese outlets began publishing upbeat stories promoting the KK Park development, calling it a flagship example of cooperation. The truth was darker. Every layer of the KK operation, its internet backbone, banking access, SIM cards, postal links, and construction contracts, was supplied by Chinese state-linked companies. Even today, Beijing officially denies involvement, but evidence from China, Myanmar, and Thailand shows that most of those arrested in the scam networks were Chinese nationals, many with Fujian underworld ties. Estimates now suggest there are at least 1,000 such compounds in northern Myanmar, employing more than 100,000 people in fraud schemes every day. Mayawadi remains the epicenter, once home to nearly 300,000 scammers powered by Chinese-built internet and electricity grids. The telecom supplier is China Unicom International, Hong Kong. The developer, Northern Heavy Industries. And the power lines come from China's Southern Power Grid, guaranteeing 24-hour energy. The immediate spark for Myanmar's military assault, however, came from abroad. In mid-October 2025, the United States and the United Kingdom jointly sanctioned Cambodia's Prince Holding Group and its founder Chen Zhi, accusing them of running a transnational scamming empire that stole over $14 billion involving cryptocurrency fraud and systemic sexual exploitation under coercion. The sanctions froze global assets tied to 128 companies and 17 individuals. According to U.S. Treasury Department sanctions documents, the Prince Group also maintained close ties with Wan Kwok Koi, better known as Broken Tooth, a Macau triad boss long linked to state-backed projects overseas. German media later confirmed that Wan was a major shareholder in Myanmar's KK Park, whose name, KK, came directly from the initials of Kwok Koi. For Washington and London, Chen Zhi, the mysterious young tycoon behind Cambodia's largest conglomerate, had suddenly become a key figure in the world's most violent fraud economy. Who exactly is Chen Zhi? The man now wanted by the United States and the United Kingdom. Born in Fuzhou, Fujian province in 1987, Chen grew up as what neighbors called an internet-addicted kid, spending days in gaming cafes and dropping out of middle school before turning 16. What came next would shape one of the most extraordinary and sinister rise-to-power stories in Southeast Asia. After dropping out, Chen began tinkering with online black markets, setting up pirated game servers, running hacking-for-hire teams, and breaking into corporate websites. By his early 20s, he had earned his first fortune through China's underground cyber economy. In 2010, he quietly left China, taking his money to Cambodia, a country just recovering from war, desperate for investment, and eager to sell influence to anyone who could pay. With its low taxes, lax regulation, and weak courts, Cambodia became the perfect incubator for Chen's next move. He started by buying cheap land in Phnom Penh, setting up a construction company as a front. Behind the scenes, he worked relentlessly to build his protection network, bribing officials, funding political families, and aligning with military elites. To the public, he was invisible. But behind closed doors, he was building an empire, one powered not by construction, but by gambling and digital deception. In 2015, at just 28, Chen founded the Prince Holding Group. Through money and charm, he quickly rose to the top of Cambodia's power pyramid. He mastered the country's rules of survival, forging political loyalty through lavish donations and carefully timed generosity. He once spent $1 million on Prime Minister Hun Sen's birthday celebration, turning his hotel, the Prince Grand, into Phnom Penh's most exclusive political clubhouse. By 2017, he had become an advisor to the Ministry of the Interior, and in 2020, he was granted the honorary title of Duke, cementing his image as a philanthropic business icon. Behind that image, though, Chen Zhi had already built what US officials now describe as the largest transnational scam empire in modern Asia. On the surface, the Prince Group looked like a gleaming modern conglomerate, with projects in real estate, finance, and consumer services that earned it praise from both Beijing and Phnom Penh. But US prosecutors say the empire's true business was built on human suffering. Behind the luxury towers and philanthropic foundations lay one of Asia's largest cross-border fraud syndicates, a network that combined online scams, crypto laundering, and forced labor into a single industrial machine. The fraud model was known as pig butchering, scams that lure victims online, build trust, and then bleed them dry. What started in chat rooms grew into a global industry worth hundreds of billions, hidden inside compounds of concrete walls and armed patrols. Starting in 2015, Chen Zhi built a chain of tech parks and casino zones across Cambodia. Under the guise of high-salary job recruitment, thousands were tricked into these walled compounds. Their passports were confiscated. They were locked in, beaten for mistakes, and forced to work up to 16 hours a day. Those who resisted were severely abused, resold to other camps, or even subjected to body part extraction. Each park functioned like a modern forced labor compound, lit by floodlights, watched by armed guards. Investigators found that the Prince Group managed at least 10 of these sites, known internally as prison factories. One of them, called Golden Swan Park, contained over 1,200 phones controlling 76,000 social media accounts, targeting victims in China, Europe, and the US. At its peak, this network made $30 million a day. The operation stretched far beyond Asia. In 2022, the FBI dismantled a laundering cell in Brooklyn, discovering that 259 Americans had been defrauded of $18 million through the group's casino subsidiaries. By mid-2025, the Cambodian government itself confirmed that Jinbei Casino, long rumored to be part of the network, was in fact owned by Prince Group, with Chen Zhi as its ultimate controller. Inside Chen's confiscated computer, investigators found spreadsheets written in Chinese, listing codes such as a 2001 Vietnam orders, B2002 China chats, B2003 EU/US chats. Each code represented a separate fraud market, proof of an industrialized system of deception. US estimates show that in 2024 alone, Americans lost more than $10 billion to scams originating from Southeast Asia. And Prince Group accounted for the largest share. Across the region, more than 350,000 people now work in scam compounds in Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. Together, they generate $50 to $70 billion in illegal revenue each year, an amount equal to half the GDP of some host countries. Yet, how did this empire of pain, as described by U.S. Assistant Attorney General John, finally come to light? The empire finally began to crack from within. In a raid earlier this year, Thai police arrested one of the Prince Group's senior executives. To reduce his sentence, the insider agreed to cooperate and revealed the location of Chen Zhi's private computer containing the encryption keys to his digital fortune. Working closely with Thai investigators, the FBI turned technology into a weapon. By uncovering patterns hidden inside Chen Zhi's encrypted password system, they broke through his Bitcoin defenses, a technical victory that exposed billions in illicit funds and shattered the illusion of his untouchable empire. The US Department of Justice later revealed that Chen had laundered his criminal proceeds through a global network of shell companies. buying yachts, private jets, luxury watches, and even a Picasso painting from a New York auction house. Funds were also funneled through the British Virgin Islands into high-end real estate in London, disguised as foreign investment. But the investigation soon led to a deeper question. Was Chen Zhi really just another criminal tycoon? Or was his entire empire protected by Beijing's security apparatus? Multiple leaks and one extraordinary testimony from a former Chinese intelligence operative began to connect the dots. The most revealing testimony came from a man known publicly only as Eric, a former operative in the First Bureau of China's Ministry of Public Security, the agency once responsible for political surveillance at home and covert operations abroad. Eric spent 15 years stationed in Southeast Asia and Australia, before defecting to Australia in early 2023. After the Prince Group scandal broke, he began posting a series of detailed confessions on X, exposing what he called the hidden partnership between Chinese intelligence networks and Chen Zhi's criminal empire. According to Eric, the Prince Group was not just a business front. It served as an unofficial logistics hub for China's secret operations overseas. He claimed that Chen Zhi operated for years under the protection of high-ranking officials in the Ministry of Public Security, including associates of former Vice Minister Sun Lijun. He even alleged that Sun's family traveled to Australia on Chen's private jet. Eric said he had once worked inside the Prince Group as an administrative and planning director, tasked with drafting the charter for the Prince Charity Foundation, a shell organization used to launder influence and channel money abroad. He wrote that this system operated like a mafia alliance.
Beijing offers political cover and access. The business tycoons provide funding and disguise.
And when asked why Beijing seemed indifferent to the rising wave of telecom scams targeting Chinese citizens, Eric's answer was chilling.
Because the state itself is the biggest backer.
He called the Prince Group one of China's most important proxies in Southeast Asia, supporting intelligence operations and covert missions under the cover of legitimate investment. Eric also claimed to have personally witnessed senior political security officials from Beijing and Chongqing meeting secretly at Chen Zhi's private club in Phnom Penh. During one meeting, he said, they plotted to fabricate criminal charges against the exiled cartoonist Rebel Pepper and lure him back to China, a mission that mirrored Beijing's pattern of transnational repression, targeting dissidents overseas. The web extended far beyond mainland Asia. The documents went on to expose another front in the network's expansion. Palau, a shell company under the Prince Group, Grand Legend International Asset Management, partnered with Rose Wang, vice chair of the Palau Chinese Association, to acquire a 99-year lease on Nungerbelas Island. The location wasn't random. The island sits just a few kilometers from a US military radar installation, part of the second island chain, a critical line of defense for US operations in the Western Pacific. Chen Zhi's quiet land grab on that island was viewed by security analysts as a strategic move, a potential foothold for Beijing's long-term expansion in the Pacific. And many believe that was the real reason the US and UK coordinated their simultaneous sanctions. The trail eventually led somewhere no one expected, to the very top of China's power structure. Rumors have long tied Chen Zhi to the Fujian faction, but some insiders whisper a far bolder claim that Chen may be a hidden relative of the party leader's family. According to one account, decades ago when Xi first arrived in Xiamen City, he attended a private dinner with local businessmen. Among the attendants was a young hotel hostess, who later gave birth to a boy named Chen Zhi. Whether or not that story is true, one thing is clear. Chen's meteoric rise was impossible without political protection from the highest levels in Beijing. Even its name, Prince Group, was a hint. You don't choose a name like that unless you know who's protecting you. In Cambodia, the Prince Group became untouchable. Officials obeyed, ministers cooperated. It wasn't just business, it was a state-sponsored shield for a criminal network. Human rights activist Sheng Xue later revealed that Qi Qiaoqiao, Xi's elder sister, was reportedly furious after the sanctions because nearly 1/4 of her overseas assets may have been managed through Chen Zhi's financial channels. According to Sheng Xue, Chen acted as a wealth manager for both the Fujian faction and Qi Qiaoqiao's investment networks. Through her influence, he enjoyed direct access to China's public security and diplomatic systems, and even to the Xi family's private estate in Shenzhen. His telecom fraud empire was a side project that served multiple masters, a convenient operation for profit, espionage, and money laundering. Even without hard proof, the pattern is unmistakable. Chen's extraordinary immunity inside China and the state's silence in Hong Kong show that his connections reached far above any ordinary businessman. While the world saw a philanthropist, Beijing had quietly built itself a gold-plated shield, and Chen was the man holding it. Between 2021 and 2022, he and the Prince Group even won the China Finance Summit's Corporate Social Responsibility Award, hailed by state media as a model of positive energy and modern philanthropy. The collapse of Chen Zhi's empire began with one event that broke the silence: the death of a South Korean student. In July 2025, a 22-year-old named Park Min-ho disappeared while traveling in Cambodia. Investigators later found that he had been sold for just a few $1,000s to a scam compound controlled by Chinese syndicates on Bokor Mountain. He never came out alive. That case, and the disappearance of 2 British citizens around the same time, sparked global outrage and finally action. On October 14, 2025, the US Treasury Department formally designated the Prince Group as a transnational criminal organization. The United States, the United Kingdom, and several allies froze 146 accounts and affiliated entities across Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Palau, bringing a decade-long criminal network to a standstill. Singapore and Thailand joined the operation, freezing local assets and opening investigations. And then a different kind of cleanup began. In China, within hours, Chinese state media that once celebrated Chen Zhi started deleting everything. 23 glowing reports vanished overnight. but screenshots had already gone viral under a new trending tag, when the propaganda turns to dust. Among the deleted pieces were headlines like, "Prince Group drives Southeast Asia's new era of development," and "Beijing Red Cross Foundation visits Prince Group." At the same time, Chinese censors began removing posts and comments that mentioned Chen's crimes or the US sanctions. It was a cover-up in real time, and everyone online could see it. One comment captured the public mood perfectly.
"He abused and enslaved thousands of our own people. Nothing happened." But after one Korean and 2 British citizens were harmed, the whole world took action. If that hadn't happened, he'd still be winning awards as a model entrepreneur.
Today, the man once hailed as Cambodia's golden philanthropist is a fugitive facing global pursuit. His once luxurious Prince compound in Sihanoukville now lies abandoned, rows of empty dormitories, sealed gates, and barbed wire glinting in the sun. After our investigation, one conclusion has become impossible to ignore. The web of telecom fraud stretching from Myanmar to Cambodia was never just about money. It was part of something bigger, a strategic ecosystem created and protected by China's ruling system itself. These compounds, cloaked as industrial parks or digital investment zones, were in reality forward bases of Beijing's intelligence and influence networks in Southeast Asia. Officially, they were meant to promote regional development. Unofficially, they were designed to undermine fragile democracies, to destabilize neighboring societies, and to ensure that the wave of democratic transition sweeping the world would never reach China's borders. But the same regime that tried to control chaos abroad ended up breeding monsters within its own shadow empire. Driven by greed and shielded by power, the system turned entire cities into factories of deception, where human life was disposable and human suffering became a business model. The Prince Group may have fallen. KK Park may be in ruins. But the machinery that created them, the political and financial ecosystem that feeds on corruption and control, still exists. So the real question now is not whether these compounds will rise again, but whether the world has finally learned to recognize what built them. Get the real story behind the CCP's shifting power games and see where US-China relations are headed next. Support the vision of a new China without communism. Subscribe now and join us in bringing the truth to light.